Hi, Anna Breeze. Hi, Liz, and hi, Matt. I hope you can hear me. Hi, Matt. How are you doing? Hello, Anna Breeze.
Hi, not too bad. How are you? Excuse
I'm
me, like
really,
I'm in the
really
dark.
well. I'm really well. I'm just gonna keep the room going for a couple of more minutes. I think it's going to be a nice small group today. I've had a lot of apologies, which is
Oh,
to be expected. I think with Easter coming up, I think people are thinking, I'll just give myself the week off. So why not? So I don't blame them. I don't blame them. But let's just see who else is going to join us. Welcome, Liz. Hope you're doing well. Okay. Hi, Anna Breeze. I've just seen you in the chat. Welcome, welcome. Okay. Oh, we've got a few more people who are coming. Excellent. Okay, so some of you have been here before. So as I always say, just go into the chat and let me know. Hello, Lynn. Lovely to see you again. Just go into the chat now and put in what you would like to gain from this session. Because you're giving me 45 minutes of your time, your precious time. I'm sure you've got a million and one things to do on your to-do list, and yet you're here, which is wonderful, and I'm grateful. But you're not here just to say hello to me. I'm sure you're here because you want something from the session. Hello, Robin. Lovely to have you again. Hello.
Hello.
Hello, Ricky. Thank you for joining us. Hello there, Ricky. Thank you for joining us. I think it's your first time, Ricky. Thank you for joining. And Roman, welcome, Roman. So yes, while we're waiting to see who else is going to join us, just go into the chat and put in what you would like to gain from this session, because
just
that
to
will really, really help me. Hello, Roman. Welcome. I hope you're doing well. So
just to
yeah, go.
recap, wasn't the top theme of this session around influence? Is that
Yes,
right, Natalie?
yeah, basically what it
Okay.
takes to be a thought leader, because that's kind of what I do. I don't really, well, you know me, Matt, we've spoken many times.
Yeah,
There
yeah.
are lots of publishers out there who work with people who want to write books, who sit on their bucket list to write books. Whereas I go, that's great. There are tons of other publishers out there. You don't need to work with me. I specifically work with people who have a bigger cause or mission that needs to get out there. So I'm essentially, even though I'm a book publisher, I'm kind of not. What I'm doing is kind of creating thought leaders. It's just the easiest way I find to do that is to turn them into published authors. People just seem to miraculously respect authors in a certain way. So that's why. But yes, oh, thank you. So we've got a few people in the chat already. So Lynn is saying inspiration and clarity. I'm sure you'll get this after this. Robin, other perspectives on how they approach thought leadership. And Matt says, where does the line begin between an influencer and being a thought? That's a good one, Matt. That's a really good one. And it is a grey area, I think. It is a grey area
Yeah.
because an influencer is a thought leader and a thought leader is an influencer. Unless, of course, you're talking about influencers who are talking about makeup. Even then, they are influencing people, but are they actually doing any good in the world? Probably not. But as long as you're not talking about those kinds of influences, then I think the two can be used interchangeably. Okay, so let me just see if there's anybody else coming in. No, I think this might be it. I think we might have a nice small group today with the run up to Easter. I did have a lot of apologies, people saying they've given themselves a week off. Easy for some, isn't it? I can't give myself a week off, but there we go. Okay, so let's get started. Let me share my screen, see if it'll allow me to do that. Excellent. So can you see this? Can we all see this? Excellent. And can I all, sorry, what was that, Anna Breeze? Did you say something?
No.
Oh, okay. Can I ask everyone to just go on silent while I'm doing the presentation? And then, of course, come off silent when we start talking, because otherwise I'll just be talking with myself, and I don't want to do that. Okay, excellent. Right, so let me start this. Okay, so a number of you have been here before, so you know the format, but I do have a couple of new people in here. So first of all, welcome to the Thought Leader Author Forum. So this is our agenda, and this is all forum meetings take this structure. So we always have two parts. Part one is we talk about the topic of the day. So today's topic is all about thought leadership. So we're going to look at the questions that help you discover if you can become a purpose-driven thought leader. Okay. And then part two, my favorite bit, is where we have, well, it's Q&A and a forum. That's the whole point. Part one only lasts around about 15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes. But then the rest of it is your time to ask questions, connect with each other, and really get what you want from this session. Okay. And that's what I love about the forum. I've done workshops and masterclasses. It's not that I don't enjoy doing them, I do, but it just seems to be me talking and people listening. And I get sick of my own voice after a while because I do a lot of talking in what I do. So it's nice to be here where I can talk a little bit, but then I can hand it over to you guys, and you guys can tell me and give me feedback and help me learn, because I don't know everything there is to know about everything when it comes to publishing and thought leadership. So really do get involved. And then what you'll be able to do is I will put a link. In fact, should I do this now? Let me actually do this now. Hold on. I think I've got the link stored here. I'll put the link in the chat now so you've actually got it. This is a link to a 5-minute quiz. I don't want to call it a test because then it sounds like an exam or something. That's not what it is. It's a test where you can it'll only take 5 minutes. You go through a series of questions. And then what it will do is it'll show you how ready you are percentage-wise, just like you can see here, how ready you are for thought leadership now, and what areas you have for improvement and how those can be improved. It should only take you 5 minutes. The best advice I can give you is just go with your gut. Don't be poring over these questions and trying to think, oh, which one should I go for? Go with your heart. It should be very instinctive, and that will give you the best idea. Okay, so I've put the link in the chat now. I'd rather you didn't do it now. I'd rather you listen to me, but save it for now and then do it later. Do it later today or whenever you've got time this week. Okay, and what I'll also do is I will email you the link tomorrow, plus I'll give you a link to our partner Business for Good. And just to thank you for attending the forum today, you'll be able to donate to one of these amazing causes. We will make the donation on your behalf. Doesn't cost a cent for you, but you get to feel really good and gooey because you've helped an organization just for attending the forum today. So keep an eye out for an email that'll come out to you tomorrow morning. Usually goes out around about 9:30 in the morning. That's when my assistant sends it out. So keep an eye out for that. Okay, so disclaimer. I have to do a big disclaimer here. And the reason why I'm putting in a big disclaimer is I had a gentleman contact me about a week ago because he did this test. And he came out with a low score. I think he got about 33%. And he was a little bit distraught. He's like, Mitali, that means I don't have what it takes to be a thought leader. And I had to spend half an hour calming him down and saying, that's not what this test is about. This isn't like the 11 plus decades ago. God, I'm showing my age here. It's not like the 11 plus that literally told children, yes, you're bright, you can go to grammar school. No, you're a little bit stupid, you have to go to comprehensive. That's not what this is. This isn't about if you get under 50% or under 60%, you're not destined for thought leadership. That's not what this test is about. The test is about just showing how ready you are. And if you're not ready yet, that doesn't mean you can't be in the near future. It's just going to show you where you might be lacking in certain things. And then you can go away and implement things so you're no longer lacking in those things. Okay, so please don't do what this gentleman did and see it as oh, well, that's it. I've got a low score. I can't do this. That's not what this test is about. That's why I don't even like calling it a test. It really is a quiz. It's just to see what your strengths are and what your weak points are. And if you know what your weak points are, you can outmaneuver those weak points. Yeah, so that's all it's about. So on Monday, I did a poll in LinkedIn just to ask my network. And I wanted to ask, what is the most important quality someone can possess if they want to become a thought leader? It was a bit of a trick question because in all fairness, all three and more are important. But I just wanted to see what people said. And 49% said define values and mission. Surprisingly, only 5% said being an engaging speaker. Although looking at some of the comments, it wasn't that they didn't think it was important. I think it was because I asked them which was the most important. So they were forced into choosing one of the three. I think a lot of people still think being an engaging speaker is important for thought leadership. It's just they thought, oh, something else is more important. And 46% went for influencing positive change, which I really, really liked because I chose defined values and mission. I struggled to choose one because I think all three are important. But I really like the fact that 46% went to influencing positive change. And a number of the comments said, you can have values and mission, but if you don't get out there and do something with it, What is the point? I thought, oh, that's deep. I like that, because that's true. How many companies out there, how many businesses out there have a mission statement or a vision statement or a value statement? And yet they're not really living by it. So it is all about going out there and making tangible, positive changes. So let's go through a few questions. Now, I'm not going to go through all the questions in the quiz. You can do that yourself when you go through it. But these are the most important ones. These are the ones where really you can see whether you have what it takes right now for thought leadership, or if you don't, like I said, it's not a problem, but you can see where there may be things that you can put in, things that you can implement so you become a thought leader in the near future. So first of all, do you feel your values and mission are easily understood by the public? Do you feel your values and mission are easily understood by the public? It has to be very, very easily understood. Okay. If you feel, put it this way, if you can tell somebody what your mission is in under a minute and they don't say, but what do you mean by that? Or what does this mean? Then you're onto a winner. So try it. See if you can write down something about your values and your mission and how you show up in the world, and you can get it in under a minute, and then test it on someone and see what they say. Do they go, yeah, I get it? Or do they go, oh, but, and they ask loads of follow-up questions? Because there needs to be something that's easily understood by people, for people to then get behind it. Okay. I've worked with people like this who had this mission statement, and I just thought, this mission statement it brings up more questions than it answers. And that's not a good thing, because if people are asking questions, well, think about it this way. I work with the 80-20 rule. I think it's called the Pareto rule or something like that. Robinson nodding his head. So I got it right. Yes, well, I'm well done, Mitali. I got it right. Pareto. I just call it the 80-20 rule. It's easier. But it tends to work a lot in business and in life. That, if you're for example, in this specific scenario, if one person, if 20 people ask questions, then chances are 80 people are not asking questions, as in they're just confused, so they just disappear. So that's 80% of people who are not going to be bothered about your values, who don't really get your mission, and therefore are not going to get behind your values and mission. So you got to make sure it's very, very easily understood by the public. So that's a good test. Write down your mission, your values. See if you can say it easily without rushing through in under a minute, and then test it on someone. And see if they go, yeah, I get exactly what you're about. What you're really looking for is someone saying, wow, that's really cool. Why isn't everyone doing that? We should all be doing that. That's the perfect response that you want to get. If you get loads of questions, it doesn't mean there's anything wrong with your mission and values. I'm not saying that, but you need to rewrite it. You need to rethink it so it becomes very, very clear. Okay. And this is something we do with our clients. A lot of our clients come to us and we actually help them, because you have to. If they're going to write a book on something, the problem with people who just write books for the sake of writing books is it tends to be like almost like a stream of consciousness kind of writing. I'm just dumping my brain into a book. Well, that's great for you because it's your brain, but to somebody else, your brain doesn't make sense. So that's kind of what we do. My team and I, is what we get all that stuff in your head and we get it out, but we don't just get it out. We put it into a structured format that can make sense to anybody. And one of the key things we do is help you with your mission and your values. So it's something that's very, very easily understood by the public, because that's the only way you're going to get them on side. Okay. So one of the comments I got from my poll, as Simon Sinek taught us, always start with why. Without clearly defined mission and values, you risk lacking authenticity. Couldn't agree more with what Marie is saying. I've actually got, I think I've got Simon's, I'm just looking at it. I've got his book just behind me because it's such an important book. You've got to start with why, and the why has got to be very clear, very easily understood, under a minute. If you can get it under 30 seconds, even better. If you can do that, then lots of people are going to say, yeah, I get this. And lots of people are going to say, why aren't more people doing this? Have you successfully influenced positive change within your field, community, or industry? This is a big one. When I sometimes get a little bit of pushback on this. sometimes people come to me and say, oh, but that's not fair because my business has only just started, or my brand's only just started, or I've only just started my nonprofit. So I haven't had the chance to positively influence my field, my community. And I'll say, okay, I'm not specifically saying the thing that you're doing now, but I'm a big believer the thought leaders are not, it's not like one day you just wake up and think, I think I'll be a thought leader today. That's not how it works. It's something that was in you probably for a very, very long time. The kind of people that I've worked with, I've now published 45 authors. I'm about to publish my 46th author in the next couple of weeks. All of these people, they've always been doing something in some way to help others. Okay. So it doesn't have to be your specific business or brand or nonprofit or whatever it is that you're doing now. It could be stuff that you've done as a volunteer, maybe some fundraising you've done. But there has to, it's just something I've noticed with every single person I've worked with. They just have this need to make the world, as cliche as it sounds, to make the world a better place. As something that comes from them from a long time ago. So think about that. Have you successfully influenced positive change within your field, community, or industry? It doesn't have to be specifically with what you're doing right now, but you must have successfully influenced positive change, because I believe that's something that no one can give you. That belief that you want to leave this world a better place than you found it, that comes inside of you. That really does. And I tend to find these people have been doing something in some form for many years previously, well before they started their business or their brand or nonprofit or their role or whatever it is. So have a look at that, because that's usually a key indicator whether you have what it takes to be a thought leader. As Gemma says, I choose influencing positive change because it requires the other two options. We only define acting on them, sharing them, showing, speaking, writing. We're missing opportunities to surely add much value to the world. She's pretty much saying, it's a little bit wordy how she put it, but she's pretty much saying that just values and mission are just values and mission. You've got to get out there and be doing things. And thought leaders or future thought leaders have been doing something usually for many years, even if it is, like I said, just fundraising here and there, or doing voluntary work, or doing something to impact positive change. Do you have knowledge, stories, and or case studies that makes you think if only more people knew the truth, they would change what they do? This is a big one. You can sit there and just write your mission, your values, and why people should adopt your way of doing things. That's not how human beings work. Human beings are terrible at really taking in numbers, figures, facts. We're just terrible at it. We were designed to listen to stories. That's our thing. We kind of think stories are like, that's what kids love. We never stop loving stories. There's a reason why Hollywood is a multi-billion-dollar industry every year. We'd never, ever grow out of stories. And it's through stories we want to learn, we want to emote, we want to feel all of these things. So think of that. You need knowledge, you need stories, and you need case studies. And if you've got abundance of those, you're going to be set. And if you don't have those yet, that's what you need to work on. But you need those stories and case studies. I always say, isn't it interesting how most religious text is written in stories? Why is that? Because really, all the different religions, all they're doing is just trying to give you a code to live a good life. So really, it could just be a rule book. The Bible could just be a rule book. Yeah. It could just literally be like, this is what you need to do to be a good human being. Don't do this list because that will make you a bad human being. There you go. And it could be about 1/100th of the size, really. And yet it's full of stories, because that's how people learn, through stories. That's how information gets bedded into your brain long term. And that's how people feel like, oh, yeah, this is so true. This is right. This is how I should be. So you also, as a thought leader, need to be full of stories and case studies. Nearly everything that you want people to learn and take from you should be encased in stories and case studies, as opposed to just giving them facts and figures. If you think of the best speakers you've ever listened to, it's because they told you a story and you were wrapped up in their story. Okay, so think about that. Start listing stories that you can use. So as Alice says, having a good story is important. Anecdotes to bring the mission and values to life. That's how human beings need it. If you just have facts, you just have figures, it's in one ear and out the other. It's not going to have long-term lasting impact. Do you enjoy speaking to audiences and educating them on your values and mission? So Ian here is saying, I'm going to go against the grain. He's saying going against the grain because not many people actually chose the second option. He's saying I'm going to go against the grain and say speaker, but interpret it as communicator. The medium doesn't matter as much, but if you can't communicate your message clearly, you cannot hope to influence change. Couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree with you more. Now, if you're thinking, I hate being on stage, don't worry. I've had so many of my clients say, I need to get my mission out to a bigger audience, but I really, really do not like the idea of speaking to lots of people. I don't like getting up on stage. Can you be a thought leader and not speak? There are thought leaders out there who don't get on stage and speak, but I do think it's harder. I do think it's harder because I don't know what it is. I think it's embedded. If you look at all the different civilizations around the world, whenever there's been like a prophet of some sort, or you always envision that person up on something talking to loads of people. That's just how we're built. And we tend to find people who can hold an audience in the palm of their hand. We do tend to respect that person. We do tend to think of that person as that person really knows what they're talking about. We are in awe of those people. I remember, wasn't it many years ago, there was some survey that was done in the US, and they asked about what was the biggest fear people had. And I think third was speaking, and fourth was death. So basically, people were more scared of getting on stage and speaking than they were of dying. I think it was Kelsey Grammer, the guy who played Frasier. I think he jokingly said that means that if you're speaking at a funeral, you're in a worse state than the guy in the casket. But I thought that's quite interesting, the people, but that's actually good. The fact that it's such a big fear of people is why when people can do it, they do conquer their fears and they get on stage and speak. That is why so many others respect those people and go, wow, first of all, amazing that they've done that. Now I need to listen to what that person says, because if they've got over that, because everyone knows there's no such thing as born speakers, by the way. We don't come out of our mother's womb wanting to get on stage and speak. It's quite scary. So the people that you see who are doing it naturally is because they got over their fear and they kept doing it until it became natural to them. That is something that people do respect. So if you really, really don't want to speak, I'm not going to force you to, but I would say pretty much every single one of my clients, even the ones who didn't want to speak, ended up on stage. They ended up even speaking to coaches to help them with their cadence and their presence on stage and that sort of thing. But they got over it and they started speaking on stages, because it does really, really make a huge difference to how people treat you, and therefore your mission and your cause and what you're trying to get out there in the world. So those are just four of the main questions, but you'll have a few more questions to answer in the, I keep calling it test, I don't want to call it test, quiz, in the quiz. And what will happen is you'll be graded. In fact, you know what, let me just show you. Should I just show you this? That'd be easier, wouldn't it, rather than me actually. So let me put this into a browser and then you can actually just see it in action. That makes a lot more sense than me showing you slides. So there you go. Once you go onto that link, you just put in your details. And then these are the 5 key indicators. This is something that I've worked out after working with, well, I'm going to publish my 46th author in the next couple of weeks. I'm working with 11 authors right now, so I should be going past 50, or well past 50 by the end of this year. And just something I've noticed, the ones who've really gone stratospheric, it's these 5 things. When you have these 5 things lined up, you're destined for thought leadership. Your mission is destined to get out there in a big way, okay? So you'll be graded on these 5 key attributes. So first of all, mission impact, then thought leadership, as in what are you ready for thought leadership yet? Visibility and recognition, that's a big one as well. You need to be quite visible. You can have the best mission in the world, by the way, but if you're not out there and you're not visible with it, What's the point? Profitability. This is something a lot of people forget when they're thinking about thought leadership. They're kind of just thinking, oh, well, you know, thought leadership is all about standing on stage and talking about your mission and getting people to adopt what you do. It's like, yes, wouldn't it be great if that alone could make you a ton of money, that you will have financial freedom for you and your family? It doesn't work that way. It's only unless you become one of the top keynote speakers, those people are literally earning their living just by speaking. But most thought leaders are not earning all of their living by speaking, because there's not enough gigs to go around, especially since the pandemic, guys. Especially since the pandemic. I know a couple of keynote speakers who made most of their living through speaking, who no longer make most of their living through speaking, because the pandemic changed things. We don't have as many in-person events anymore, and people don't always want to go to that many in-person events anymore. So our attitudes have changed. We're actually quite comfortable being on Zoom and having online events. So you need to think about that. So profitability is a key element we look at. And the other one is author capabilities. Now, again, just like speaking, do you need to be an author to be a thought leader? No, there are thought leaders out there who haven't published books. But is it harder? Just like speaking. There's something about being an author, and there's something about being able to get on stage and speak clearly with emotion, have people in the palm of your hands. Those two things go together. You have those two things locked down, and you're pretty much guaranteeing thought leadership. Do you have to be a speaker, and do you have to be an author to be a thought leader? No, you don't. But you better be bloody good at everything else, because those two things really, really do help you. And then once you've done that, you will get this score. And like I said, do not, please, whatever you do not beat yourself over the head with your score. If it's on the low side, that does not mean get out of the room, you're never going to be a thought leader. That's not what it means. All it means is you've got room for improvement. And it'll give you, it just won't give you this, it'll actually give you a detailed breakdown of what the things you are that you're lacking, and give you advice on where you can help yourself so you can become that thought leader that you want to be. Okay, so let me come out of this. Let me just stop sharing so I can see all your beautiful faces. Excellent. So how did we all think about that? Tell me your thoughts. Did anyone get any gems there? Did anyone kind of think, oh yeah, I never really thought of that? Or was there a lot of it, did you think, yes, I already knew this, and yes, I already embody all of this? Let me know what your thoughts are. Let me just, while you're doing that, I'm just going to have a look in the chat. Oh, thank you, Robin. So yeah, I see you answered, Matt, saying regarding, I'd say the influence is more superficial and a pointer to thought leaders, whereas a thought leader has substance. I think that's very good. Isn't it sad though, Robin, that the word influencer has been, because it didn't used to be, an influencer was a good thing, but now we kind of got influencers. So yeah, we've got a stereotype of influencers now, haven't you? Matt saying, one for Robin, can AI be counted as influencer? Oh God, let's not go down. I bet you guys had a huge chat about that, didn't you? I'm going to let you guys, should I introduce you so you can now guys can have a chat about that? I'll introduce you via email.
We already have. We're already connected.
You're already connected. Awesome.
You've done the job.
Because I'm just thinking that is one hell of a conversation. That's scary as well, isn't it? Is AI? It probably is an influencer now.
Is Robin real though? Is Robin a real person? I think he's just the latest incarnation of Max Headroom.
I'm a deep fake.
Yeah.
Deep fake.
Really,
that worries me. I'm building a friendship with you, and I feel like I'm building.
You're really good, Robin.
Ricky. So Ricky says, how can anyone influence positive change if they're not a? Yes. I mean, like I said, Ricky. Well, you will say that because you're Speakers Academy, but it's so true. It's true. There are thought leaders out there who don't speak. They do speak. They still speak, but they speak maybe online. Maybe they do reels and they do things like that, but they don't actually get out on stage and speak.
But it's not just about speaking. You have to be outstanding.
Oh yes. Yeah.
And that's the. I mean, I've spent 50 years learning how to speak, and I'm still learning. It's not something you can just do easily. It's something like writing. My partner's spent 10 years getting her first novel together.
Yeah.
And she's still every day learning something about how to engage characters, how to tell a story.
Yeah. It's an ongoing thing, but I think it's the desire to want to. I think that's the key thing. It's the desire to get out there. And like I said, every single one of my clients, even the ones who are really reticent to speak, are now speaking, even in just small capacity, even if they're only just speaking in front of small groups, but they're doing it because I think it's embedded in us. We've always, and it's not just particular parts of the world. I think everywhere in the world, we've always held people who are able to get up and speak in front of loads of people. We hold them in high regard because it is a scary thing to do. So someone that is able to do that and do it well and get better at it each time, we respect that, and therefore we respect what they're saying. We respect their words. And similar with books, it goes hand in hand with books. I think an interesting thing that a lot of people ask me is, are books worth it anymore? Because every year you see these statistics that people are reading less and less. So are books worth it? And I say, well, people are reading less and less. People are buying fewer books. However, that's not what, in a strange way, that actually works for us, because it means that people who do write a book, they are held at a very high regard because of that. Because I think we're now living in a world where we just have content everywhere. Everyone's writing articles, everyone's doing blogs, everyone's doing social media. So if you then go and write a book and you do it well, that makes you stand out from everybody else, so it actually works. It works for, in a strange way, people reading less and buying fewer books works well for thought leadership. Matt, he said the challenge with some mission statements is presumption that people understand a key concept in the same way. Sustainability is what is sustainable? Is a classic one which many are struggling to university agree on. It's often confused in making something sustainable and so enabling business to continue producing without its resources. Very true. I mean, it seems like everyone's sustainable now, but obviously not, because the planet is still going to pot. So yeah, that's a good one. You may think people are likely to be affected or drawn by story, but then equally surprised when they aren't. This is because we do not all think and feel the same way. Yeah. Aren't there more authors? I don't know what you meant, to which bit you talked about that, Robin. So, and many die on stage. Yeah, I think that's the fear, isn't it? I think that's the fear. They'd rather die in real life than actually die on stage. But I found that really...
you were talking about thought leaders who don't like to get on stage. That's where I think, well, don't they just be authors instead then, and they use that as the medium of getting their message across?
I would say it's not an alternative. I wouldn't put it this way. Someone came to me and said, I'm really scared of being on stage. Can I write a book instead? I'd be like, okay, I mean, we can absolutely help you write a book, but what is it you want to do? And usually the people who approach me, they've got a bigger mission because, they know what I do. And I've been doing this since 2018. So I've been around the block for a little bit now. So people are aware what kind of publisher I am. And I always say, well, you don't have to get on stage, but having a book out there does amazing things for your authority and people take you seriously. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't get on stage as well. It's not an either or. It's more like a 1-2 sucker punch. They both work amazingly well together. That's why a lot of speakers are authors and a lot of authors are speakers, because they just work.
You've only got to look at the impact that one or two people who are, take someone like Brené Brown, who's the one who identifies why we've got this fear. Her TEDx talk, which she delivered almost at the last minute, has had, was it 53 million views, has utterly and completely changed her life. And she has had such an influence on so many people over exposing the fact that we don't talk about vulnerability. And it's only by getting up and talking about it that she's made that massive, massive difference. I don't see how anything, she'd written loads of books that had no impact until she got up and did that 18 minutes.
Yeah, that's all it can be. A TEDx can only be, I think, 18 minutes or something. But it's so true. I tend to, just to answer your question, Robert, what I tend to do is, for people who come to me and say they don't want to speak, I would say, you know, speak to someone like Ricky, someone who can actually help. And they are great. I know a load of other speaker coaches, and they can really, really help you in understanding how to speak well. And it is an art. It isn't just getting up there and just delivering your speech. There's a lot more to it than that. I'm still learning. I've only been speaking for about 3 years, and each time I get on stage, I panic, and then I somehow manage to get through it, and I'm getting better and better each time. But there is, like Ricky says, you know, there's something about getting somebody on stage, the impact that you have. The book tends to really be more of a, well, it's twofold. What a lot of my clients tend to do is, by writing a book, they're given the chance to be on bigger stages than they probably wouldn't have got otherwise. Absolutely. So it's more of a way to get bigger speaking gigs. And also, once they're at that top and they're really getting those big gigs, the book becomes almost like a follow-on. Because a lot of people will see, for example, a TEDx talk can only be 18 minutes. I think that is the cutoff, isn't it, Ricky?
Yeah, 18 minutes.
I think you can't do more than 18 minutes, basically. So it has to be 18 minutes or less. So people get that and they'll be like, wow, I love that. I want to know more. It's great having a book. I always think it's crazy when speakers don't have a book, because I just kind of think, well, don't people ask you? I've even had a couple of people come to me who've ended up writing books because people kept asking them after they'd speak anywhere, well, where can I get more information? Do you have a book? And they'll be like, no. And they'll be like, why? Why do you not have a book? It's just expected. If you're a speaker speaking passionately about something, you should have a book that follows it up. And if you're an author, you're expected to get on stage because the book. So the two feed into each other. They're not, does that make sense? They're not all, I've never seen writing a book. Put it this way, I'm an author. I didn't sit there and think, right, I'm an author, so I don't have to get up on stage and speak. The two work hand in hand together. They don't replace each other, if that makes sense. Any other questions? I'm still going through the chat. Anna Bree says, so many fears to overcome as a thought leader. The ability to stand for your message, communicate it, rock the boat in the industry, and public speaking. I think you've just said the same thing and written it out in 4 different ways, my love. You're making it harder for yourself. It's just one fear. But this is where your mission and values come into place, Anna Bree. When you really believe your mission, your values, and truly believe in them, you get over yourself. I didn't used to like speaking. I still don't really like speaking. I was a ghostwriter and a copywriter, and I always think nothing like a career really happens by accident. Okay, so if I've spent most of my life writing for other people, surely that means I wasn't somebody who naturally likes the limelight. I like to be the person who creates something and gives it away to somebody else. And yet I had to get over myself and get on stages, become an author, and write my own book as opposed to writing for other people, because I had a bigger mission. And that was to help as many purpose-driven individuals get their causes out into the public in a big way. Because I was sick and tired of seeing the same so-called experts on my news channels, and they were talking nonsense. I was like, the people that I want to hear from, social entrepreneurs, B Corp founders, ethical business owners, they were nowhere to be seen. And that really pissed me off, pardon my language. So I just thought, right, I'm going to do something about it. But then I realized, oh, crap. Now I have to write my own book. Now I have to be on stage. I didn't want to do any of those things. But my cause and my values and my mission was bigger than my feelings of being uncomfortable. And that's how I got over it. And that's why, going back to the very first question, having a clearly defined values and mission, that's how it really, really helps. And it helps you, Anna Bree, to get over this fear. When you don't really have much of a mission, or you're paying lip service to it, which, by the way, a lot of businesses do. I always jokingly say, I think sometime around 2016, someone did a huge webinar that was all about every business needs to have a mission. And now it seems like every single business has some kind of mission statement out there. I doubt whether they actually believe in that mission statement, but they've done it. That's what I mean by not really believing in your mission. But when you really believe in it, you get out of your own way. I hope that makes sense, Anna Bree. I know you're not on camera today, but let me know if you want.
Yes, Mitali, thank you. Yeah, and that has helped me a lot, as well as that perspective of just like, it's not about me.
Yes.
Like, you know, we've been blessed with some kind of inspiring message that's going to make a difference in the world. And, you know, we've been given that opportunity, and it's just not about us, it's about, you know, the message. And so when I shift that perspective, it's much easier to, you know, like for me, when I was speaking at a vegan festival one time, I was scared to go up and do that, but I just thought, I'm going to do this for the animals because that's what I care about. I'll do it for the animals.
Exactly. It's
and
amazing
so,
when you come out of yourself and you put then it becomes different. It's so like, it's no longer about you. You're not pushing yourself. It's like you have to do this for others, whether that's other human beings, whether that's non-human beings, whether that's the planet as a whole. But yes, and that's where truly believing in your values and mission, that's where it really comes in. When you don't truly believe, when you're paying lip service to, which a lot of businesses out there do, that's when you're going to come a cropper. But if you truly believe in something, you will get out of your own way and you'll make it happen. If I can do it, like I said, I'll have to send you guys. I'll see if I can find it. The very, very first live I did on Facebook, it was September. I don't remember the date. It was September in the middle of lockdown. So it was 2020. I'd never mind being on stage. I'd never even done a live before. So I was terrified. I was so terrified that I couldn't even look directly into the camera. I couldn't even do this, by the way, guys. This is a minor miracle that I'm able to do this several years later. I couldn't even look into the camera of my phone. So therefore, what I decided to do is I went off for a walk in my local wooded area at the back of where I live. Because I just thought, well, if I'm walking, people, if anybody does join, by the way, it was just an impromptu live. So I think only one person joined anyway. But I thought if anybody does join, they won't be expecting me to look directly into the camera because I'm walking and I'll walk into a tree then. So I thought in my infinite wisdom, I thought if I can walk and talk, then all I have to do is glance at the camera every so often. But the rest of the time I can be walking ahead or looking ahead, I should say. That's how scared I was just to do a live.
Yeah, it's
I
good
had
to
one person join me.
Good to find ways around it, isn't it? Just that, you know, just find a different approach that makes it a little bit easier.
Yeah. Try, I mean, honestly, and the best advice I can give you, first of all, if you really do want to speak, you want to connect with someone like Ricky. I've had a coach help me, and they can really shorten the amount of time it takes for you to get really, really good. Shorten it by several years. So you can do it, you know, you can just keep doing it and get better at it. And you will get better at it the more you do it. But if you go with someone like Ricky, then yeah, you know, I've worked with one over the last few years, and some people even tell me, it's like, it sounds like, you know, when you're on stage, it's like you've been doing it for a long time. And then I tell them about my Facebook Live that I did in September, and they can't believe it. Like, really? You were that scared? That's just a few years ago. It's like, yeah, exactly. That's the difference between working with a coach. See, if you're able to afford it, do work with a coach like Ricky, because it will really, and then think of how many more people you can impact with your message. That's what you've got to think about. Yeah. Okay. I've got a few more things to go to. So what I'd love to do, by the way, guys, if any of you are thinking of writing a book in the next 12 months, I would love to speak to you. And this is where we can discuss things like this, because that's what it's all about. It's not writing a book for the sake of writing a book. As I said, there are publishers out there who can help you with that. I only work with people who are writing a book because they need to get their cause, their mission out to a bigger audience and influence more people. It's a very specific reason for writing a book. It's not writing a book because you just want to write it because it's on your bucket list or anything like that. So I would love to speak to you. Let me actually, give me 2 seconds. I'll put the link in the chat now for anyone who wants to book in some time to speak to me. And then what I'll also do, let me go back to my slides here. Okay, so just to give you an idea of what we'll talk about. So this is my, well, a small fraction of my Hall of Fame. And that's what it's about. It's not about just writing books. As I keep saying, I do sound like a broken record, but that's what the point is. getting your mission, your cause out there in a big way. So getting into newspapers, you know, working with influencers. Yes, some influencers are nice, by the way, Matt. We do like some influencers. Getting on TV. It's about getting your mission out there to the biggest audience possible so people start to understand why you do what you do. It's a very specific reason, and that's what we want for you, and that's what we'll discuss. So this is one of my clients. She published a book, it'll be just over 2 years ago now. And Amanda has now become a thought leader in women's finance. Her book is fantastic. Yeah, I know I'm a publisher, so I'm going to say that, but it truly is fantastic because she was a financial planner, still is a financial planner. And she realized while she was doing what she was doing, that she had so many women coming to her who were in their 50s and 60s, and she was having to tell them that you can't retire, you don't have enough money in your pension, or they're wanting to divorce because they're unhappy in their marriage, and she's having to give them the horrible news that you probably don't want to divorce your husband because you're going to end up penniless. And she discovered that the real culprit to why these women, who, by the way, have worked, you know, did all the right things, but they were still retiring into poverty, is because we have an unfair pension scheme here in the UK. So her book is all about why it's unfair and how it needs to change. And what we're now doing is we've got the book, we're now lobbying different MPs to start reading it. The ultimate goal is to change the law in the UK, change pension law in the UK. And as you can see, she's saying because of her book, she's been able to get podcasts, interviews, give talks, and she's now established herself as an expert in her field. She is seen as a women's finance thought leader. She's been covered many times in the Financial Times and also in the Telegraph and a couple of other publications as well. And that's what's really building momentum for her. And I think she will in the next 5 years. You'll probably see a change in the law because of this lady. So that's the impact that you can have. And that's the impact that I want for every single one of my authors. So what we'll discuss is we'll go through the roadmap that my clients go through. We've all got it laid out for you. So if you ever thought, I don't really know how it fits, you know, how does a book fit with what I want to do? That's exactly, we've already got the roadmap. So we'll actually go through that with you so you can visualize it and see how it works for you, okay? So we'll look at your book ideas. We'll look at if these ideas are, you know, if thought leadership is right for you and if these book ideas are going to get you there. We will talk about the process that will get you there. And then we'll look at my program, the Thought Leaders Ecosystem, and see if it can help. It's not always for everybody. I'll be honest with you. So that's a good thing about these strategy sessions, that we can really decipher where you are, where you want to be, and if the Thought Leader Ecosystem will help. And if it doesn't, if it's not right for you, then I'm pretty well networked now. So there's other people that I can refer you to that might be able to help you more than I can. Okay. And to thank you, we will actually give you a link where you can make a donation to one of these amazing causes. We'll make the donation for you and you can feel all snuggly and wonderful because you've helped another organization just for having a conversation with us. So all you have to do is, here it is. This is what it looks like. There's a short video that you can watch me. I've already explained what it's all about, but you can watch a video telling me telling you everything, how it works, and then just book some time. So there's some time tomorrow. I've only got 5 p.m. I did have one more. Oh, I think somebody must have just booked it now. So thank you, whoever's booked it. I did have some more time on Thursday, but someone's booked that. I've got more time on Friday. Or if you want to do next week, you can do next week. Friday is Good Friday, isn't it? I probably should actually spend some time with my family on Friday, and yet I've given myself. So if you do want to book me on Friday, that's fine. I don't mind working on Friday. Or next week, Thursday or Friday, just book yourself. And you know how this works. You just click on when you want, put your details in, and off you go. So I'd love to speak to you. Okay, any more questions? I'm still going through the chat. God, you guys are very lively in the chat, aren't you? But does anybody get any questions that they want to ask me? Or anything that they just want to glean from this? Any takeaways? Have I stunned you all into silence? Wrong woman's going, yes, stunned into silence. Okay, let me go through the chat. Oh, Liz, did you want to say something? Oh, no, I thought you were putting your hands up there. Right, okay. So Matt said, a good friend of mine introduced me to Toastmasters. And that's a good one, Toastmasters. So yeah, I didn't join Toastmasters. I joined another network in 2020, 4N. And I joined them, and they were quite cheap to join as well. And what was really, really good is this was during the time when it was the pandemic, everything was locked down. And the 4N was really good because what they do is it's normal networking. It's a bit like BNI, but without the, BNI is very structured, isn't it? You have to get this many leads and it can be very structured. Works for a lot of businesses, doesn't work for some other businesses. Whereas 4N, it doesn't have that kind of structure. It is just general networking. But then you have the opportunity to apply to do a 20-minute talk. And you can just speak like this, or you can have slides or whatever you want to do. I think I did about 7 or 8 of them in the space of a year in 2020. And that really, really helped me. It felt low risk because I was behind a computer. I wasn't in front of people, but it just got me used to speaking, got me used to things like how to speak, slowing down my words or hastening my words sometimes, when to have pauses, when to enunciate certain things. It really, really helped me. So if you're scared about speaking, start doing something like 4N or Toastmasters, where you give short speeches. Another good tip that I couldn't do because of the pandemic, but it was given to me, is if you join your local chambers of commerce. Again, you can apply to speak, and you just do a 10-minute presentation. It's usually about 10 people there. So it's, again, low stakes. It allows you to make mistakes and trip up and do all of those things in a small supportive setting before you go into the big things. Yeah, so I hope that helps. That's how I did it and how I started getting good. Yes, Robin, that's absolutely fine. I know you have to go. You got a client who wants to phone me up now. Yes, I know what clients like that are like, so that's absolutely fine. I think Matt has gone. Okay, so I think I've answered everything in the chat. Anything else before we close? I was meant to go at 1:45, but you guys obviously love me. I want to stick around, which I like. But is there anything else you want to say? Okay. Well, thank you so much for coming. I hope you got. Oh, Ricky, did you want to say something?
No. So I'm going to give you. I'll book a slot with you and have a chat.
Oh, awesome. Looking forward to speaking to you, Ricky. Looking forward to speaking to you. Okay, well, thank you so much for coming. I hope you got a lot out of this. And please do, thank you, Lynn. Please do, if you're interested in really, if you've got, I think everybody here does. Yeah, everyone who's got like a big mission or a cause that they want to get out there, do that test. It's free. It'll take you less than 5 minutes. And like I said, it will give you a breakdown on what your strengths are and also where your weaknesses are. And like I said, don't beat yourself over the head with that. All it just means is that there's room for improvement. And guess what? There's people who can help you with that improvement. Okay. So for example, if you found out that speaking, you've got down a few marks because of speaking, go and speak to Ricky. Rick will be able to help you get top marks on that soon. So that there's people who can help you. If you can see where your weaknesses are, there are people out there who can help you strengthen those weaknesses. Okay. Thank you so much. And I will see you soon, Ricky. I think I'm speaking to you as well, Lynn, soon. So I will see you all very soon and hopefully see you in another forum. Bye. Have a lovely Easter weekend. Bye.
Super. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Ricky. Thank you.